understand why this is not the biggest story in conservative media this week is the proof now that the FBI interfered in the 2020 election. Like, it was a huge deal in 2016 when the FBI tried to get General Michael Flynn, when they tried to falsely accuse Trump. They tried to take him out with false allegations based on the Steele dossier before the election, and then they tried to do it after the election. They tried to unseat a duly elected president simply because they didn't like him by hurling these false allegations, essentially paid for by Hillary Clinton's campaign. That was shocking enough, but it happened in 2020 again. This is not just a one-time thing that the FBI did. Senator Chuck Grassley actually exposed this. He wrote a letter. Senator Chuck Grassley wrote a letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland and to the director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, who, by the way, huge disappointment, not helping during the swamp, maybe possibly a swamp creature himself. But Grassley said that numerous, these are his words, highly credible whistleblowers have come forward to him, to Grassley and his staff, about a, quote, scheme in place among certain FBI officials to undermine derogatory information connected to Hunter Biden by falsely suggesting that it was disinformation. So when you first hear this, you think, okay, we already knew this, right? We already knew that Facebook and Twitter didn't let us send even a link to that original New York Post article about Hunter Biden's laptop at the end of October of 2020. Like, we knew this, right? We knew that there was an effort to stifle this information. But, like, zoom out for a second and think about the difference between big tech doing that and the FBI engaging in what can only be described as a malicious propaganda effort against a candidate that they didn't want to win in a presidential election that's supposed to be decided by the people of the United States of America. The FBI put their thumb on the scale. There was a poll in the wake of the 2020 election where 30% of Democrats said that if they had known about the Hunter Biden laptop allegations, and not just his drug use or his drinking or his sexual promiscuity or all of those gross selfie videos he makes, which I just can't with, but if they had known that he was literally selling influence when his father was vice president, that he was making deals with Chinese communists, with corrupt Ukrainian oligarchs, and he was doing so with his father's name in his mouth, selling influence, which is a national security risk. If they had known about this, it would have made them reconsider their vote for Joe Biden in 2020. 30% of Democrat voters said that. And so think about this new information about the FBI in relation to that statistic. That if the FBI had not joined in this effort by big tech and the mainstream media and Democrat elected officials, but if the FBI had not engaged in a propagandizing campaign, that might have been enough votes for Donald Trump to win the election. There might have been enough Democrats who, having heard the truth about Hunter Biden, wouldn't have voted for Joe Biden, and Donald Trump would have won the election, even by the way, even given the circumstances or notwithstanding the electioneering. This means that the FBI has now meddled in 2 consecutive presidential elections. And I don't understand why people can't talk about this. I understand the idea of not looking back. We want to look to the future and not the past, but we can't live the future until we've learned from the past. And if in the past, we've created processes and procedures and institutions and policies that handicap us in the future from achieving what we want to achieve, we have to revisit the past in order to fix it so that we can move forward. This is how I feel about election integrity. This is how I feel about accountability for crimes committed around 2016. And now, as we're learning, around the 2020 presidential election as well. If we don't hold these swamp creatures accountable, if we don't investigate, if we don't continue to obsessively harp on this, then why wouldn't it happen in 2024? Do you think that they're at all cowed by the fact that they got away with it? Or do you think that they're emboldened by the fact that they got away with it? Of course they're emboldened. Of course they are.